morning students. Today we are going to start the third chapter from 9th standard book Moments. And the name of the chapter is Iswaran the Storyteller, written by R.K. Lakshman. So here students, as the title tells us that this is the story about Iswaran, who is a storyteller. And why Iswaran is called the storyteller? Because he is good at storytelling, and while telling his stories he uses his body language, gestures, and sometimes changes his voice to make his stories realistic. And students, after listening his stories, the listener is compelled to think that his stories are real. So the writer R.K. Lakshman wants to highlight his special feature of telling these stories in his lesson. And to whom Iswaran tells his stories and which stories are told by him, let's come to know after reading this chapter. The story was narrated to Ganesh by a young man, Mahindra by name. He was a junior supervisor in a firm which offered on hired supervisors at various types of construction sites, factories, bridges, dams, and so on. Mahindra's job was to keep an eye on the activities at the work site. He had to keep moving from place to place every now and then, as offered by his head office, from a coal mining area to a railway bridge construction site. From there, after a few months, to a chemical plant which was coming up somewhere. Students, after reading this paragraph, we come to know that the story about Iswaran was told to Ganesh by a young man whose name was Mahindra. And what did Mahindra do? He was a junior supervisor in a firm, and that firm provided hired supervisors at various types of construction sites. For example, factories, bridges, dams, and so on. And what did Mahindra do at the construction site? He would keep watch, or he would keep an eye on the workers doing work there. And students, he had to move from one place to another now and then, means not regularly but sometimes, or as ordered by his head office. He was a bachelor, his needs were simple, and he was able to adjust himself to all kinds of odd conditions, whether it was an ill-equipped circuit house or a makeshift canvas tent in the middle of a stone quarry. But one asset he had was his cook, Iswaran. The cook was quite attached to Mahindra and followed him uncomplainingly wherever he was posted. He cooked for Mahindra, washed his clothes, and chatted away with his master at night. He could weave out endless stories and anecdotes on varied subjects. Anecdotes means small stories about real incident or person. Bachelor means unmarried. Ill-equipped circuit house means guest house, and that was ill-equipped. Ill-equipped means there were not any facilities which were necessaries for a person to live comfortably. An asset here means a useful person. So here students, we come to know that Mahindra was a bachelor. That means he was unmarried. And as he was unmarried, he was having no family, so he could adjust himself in any kind of shelter, whether it was a circuit house or a canvas tent. Canvas tent means tent made of cloth and which was temporary. And students, but always a one person would go with him, and that was his cook, whose name was Iswaran. And what did Iswaran do for him? He cooked food for him, washed his clothes, chatted all the night, and would tell him long stories or small stories or incidents which were based on different subjects. Iswaran also had an amazing capacity to produce vegetables and cooking ingredients seemingly out of nowhere in the middle of a desolate landscape with no shops visible for miles around. He would miraculously conjure up the most delicious dishes made with fresh vegetables within an hour of arriving at the zinc sheet shelter at the new workplace. Students, desolate means uninhabited. Uninhabited means uninhabited landscape or place means where nobody would live. And amazing, that means surprising. Capacity means ability to do work. So students, after reading this paragraph, we come to know that Mahendra was having a special capability. That's mean whenever they shifted to a new location, Iswaran would gather all vegetables and other ingredients required by him to cook. As they lived in temporary shelters with roofs made of metallic sheets, with roof made of zinc sheet means metallic sheets. And it seemed that Iswaran would do magic and produce delicious dishes made of or made with fresh vegetables. Mahindra would be up early in the morning and leave for work after breakfast, carrying some prepared food with him. Student, what did Mahindra do? He would get up early in the morning and having his breakfast. He would go along with lunch to work. Meanwhile, Iswaran would tidy up the shed, wash the clothes, and have a leisurely bath, pouring several buckets of water over his head, muttering a prayer all the while. Muttering means to speak very slowly. And whenever or after Mahindra was left for his job, what did Iswaran do? He would clean the shelter, wash the clothes, and had a nice bath. He would pour several buckets of water over his head, and while doing this, he would offer a prayer. It would be lunch time by then. After eating, he would read for a while before dozing off. The book was usually some popular Tamil thriller running to hundreds of pages. Its imaginative descriptions and narrative flourishes would hold Iswaran in thrall. In thrall means the state of being in someone's power. Tamil thriller means the book in Tamil language. And students, what did Iswaran do after taking lunch before dozing off? Dozing off means before sleeping off. That's mean before sleeping he would read the book in Tamil language, and in that book what was given? Imaginative descriptions and detailed description of the stories. And Iswaran would take a great interest in reading that book.